Modular synthesis. Completed it, mate. Hello again, it's me. In this video today, I'm going to walk you through my modular synthesis project. So in the last video, which was a couple of weeks ago, I started it. I got the first few modules and the rack and that. Over the past couple of weeks, I've meticulously researched about how I can get as much as possible into 6U. This case is very weird. It says it's 88 HP. It's not, it's 89, which is a bit strange in terms of numbering. However, I've managed to fill it out with exactly what I want, what I need, and what I feel looks good aesthetically, all in without 1 HP of space left. Now, the main reason I did this as a project is to have everything possible. I wanted to make nasty bass lines, I wanted to make big hefty leads, I wanted to make dreamy ambient pads, I wanted to be able to sample some stuff, but mainly I wanted to have everything in one enclosed space. This is the main reason that I got rid of the Minotaur, the SP16, all of those little things, just so I could have one all-encompassing everything. So when I was designing it and researching it and just pissing my partner off massively at 2 in the morning going, because I'd realised that there was a module that did everything that I needed it to do in the space that I needed it to be in the colour I wanted it to be at. She got very pissed off with me, but now it's over in her eyes, and it's not over. False promises, isn't it? But I've done it. I've managed to keep it symmetrical as much as I can for my own pathetic reasons of having to look at it all the time. Everything's in arm's reach. Well, it's only small. I mean, arm's reach. It's like it's tiny, but everything is where it kind of needs to be for the shortest cable length. And I'm extremely happy with it. Extremely happy with it. Already made 4 or 5 different ambient style generative tracks with it, which is just amazing, which there's no way I would have ever been able to do in a computer. But yeah, that's the main reason I sold all those bits. Just have an all-encompassing everything in one thing that I felt looked nice and was enclosed and looked geeky. Flashing lights and that. Can't really go wrong, can you? Bit of a problem now though, this. Must admit, is a bit of a problem. Already found like credit cards that I didn't realise that I had loads of credit on and that. But yeah, it's head over there, all the way over there, just 2 foot that way. And yeah, I'll walk you through what the modules are, how I'm using them, why I got them, and yeah, let's go. Awesome, so I'll talk you from left to right. Starting top left, we've got the power supply, very boring. Next to that, we have something called the Ornament and Crime. Now, this is an everything in everything. I'm still yet to really figure out what the fuck is going on, to be honest with you. There's loads of things in it. So far, I've used it as a sequencer, so a dual sequencer. I've used it as a chord generator. But at the minute, I'm using it as a quad envelope, very complex envelope generator. So this is brilliant. It does loads of other things, which I'm still yet to dive into. I've watched about 7 hours worth of videos on it, and I still have no fucking idea what's going on with it. However, the 4 envelopes I do understand, so I'm using it for that and multitude of other things in the future. Next, we have the Beehive version of the Mutable Instruments Platts. This is incredible. I'm using this for chords. I'm using this for random moving wavetable-y stuff. I used it for kick drum stuff before I got the Squid in the bottom row, which we'll get to in a bit. Again, I've still yet to scratch the surface with it, but for anything sort of ambient, I made like a quality M1 organ on it. Love this, really good. It's just customizable to the nth degree. I love it, I think it's brilliant. So yeah, the Platts, the Beehive version. The reason I got that one is because 1, it's cheaper. 2, it's black and looks sexy as fuck. 3, it was only 8 HP and it fit perfectly next to this one. Same make. I got both of these off of reverb.com. A guy, English shop, forgotten the guy's name. Meta Sound Labs, I think. Meta. Apologies if I've completely got that absolutely wrong. But brilliant, really nice guy. English, so the shipping, not racism or anything like that, just because the shipping was like a day. I ordered it in the evening and it was at my house the next day. Brexit and all that bollocks means that like if you order anything outside of England, good luck. Both of these from the same bloke on Reverb. Couldn't love them anymore. Build quality is brilliant and they're lovely. Next, we know what that is. Pittsburgh Modular SV1. That was my dive into the modular world in a semi-modular way and I loved it. So this has got a lot to answer for. Now I'm using this in a very different way. This I'm using as the individual modules now, not like a standard all-in-one voice. So I've got the MIDI to CV here, but at the moment I can, there's a little MIDI to CV cable at the back there, Just clips in at the back, nice out the way, don't like cables. This, I'm using clocking it from the stuff down here, which I'll go through in a second. So I've got a clockable LFO, two of which, well, one, but use multed out twice. Glide and that, if I want to play this out through the MPC down here. Voltage per octave, gate, clock out, everything. But then I've got an oscillator here, another oscillator here. I've got a freestanding LFO here. I then got the mixer, so I'm using that as either an audio mixer, but most of the time now I'm using it as a CV mixer. I've then got my filter, which is absolutely beautiful. I've then got an ADSR, nice analog ADSR. I've then got some tools down here. So you've got sub oscillator 1, down 1 octave and down 2 octaves from oscillator 1. So whatever oscillator 1 is playing, these are going to output octaves 1 below and 2 octaves below. I've got a noise source here, I've got a sample and hold here, all completely separate. I've got a VCA here, which again, once I was using it with this, it was just the volume for the synth. This is now an actual VCA that I can use. I've got buffered mult here. How I'm using this at the minute is most of the time I'm using this to send CV out, so voltage per octave out for pitch. Using it buffered so it doesn't sort of lose its amount, it doesn't lose its pitch that well. How I've got it going in, and then I'm going out of here into here, and out of here and out of here. So I've got 4 outputs for my voltage per octave. This is now sort of redundant. I don't really use that anymore at all now because I'm using the individual parts. But if I do want to use this as a single voice, like I love the sub from this on its own, so I'm sometimes just using it as a normal synth again. Lifeforms SV1, nice and center. See that? See, I've done the ergonomics there. See, I've done that. See how it's all symmetrical and that. Plan every move I make. Anyway, next one, the Disting by Expert Sleepers. This has changed. Whenever I get a new module, it changes what I do with it. At the moment, I'm using it as a ping pong delay, but I'm using its tuner to tune the oscillators with. I'm using the sample playback. I'm using the filter, the DJ filter on it, I think is excellent. You've got like all the way left is low pass, middle is nothing, all the way right is high pass. So that's a really good modulatable source. This is my Swiss Army knife of creative things. Whereas this is a Swiss Army knife of I haven't got a fucking clue. This is more stuff that I understand what it does, and it gives me one of those, which is nice. Next, the jack plug version Monsoon of the Clouds by Mutable Instruments. Love it. Again, it's got the Parasite firmware, so it's got a load of other things that you can do with it. I am just using this at the minute in the normal mode, so like the granular mode with reverb. So this is my reverb unit. I'm using this a bit quirky, which I'll get to in a sec. Next, my output module is just a Befaco outs, so everything ends up going there, which then goes into my UAD Apollo, just as 2 inputs. Let's move down to the bottom left corner. The first one you can see, I don't know if you can see it because I've got some stuff pre-patched, just because it's kind of human I am. The Clock Divider 2 by Dopfer. This is the A160-2. This is my clock divider to divide clock. That's all it does. I mean, it's not very extravagant. It just divides clock. It's getting its clock from Pamela's new workout. Bit of Pam's there. Love a Pam. This is my clock generator for everything. This is one of my favourite purchases. This sends clock out to trigger my envelopes. This also resets my clock divider. I then have whatever the BPM is set on here, I have set twice as much coming out of this into my clock divider. So I have this now is basically that one, and then all divisions of that underneath. So it's like my Pamela's new workout expander. Yeah. So yeah, Pam's lovely. This, I start that, sick. I can also have this clocked. So I could clock this from the MPC if I want to. I'm not at the moment. I'm just trying to keep it all encompassing. And if the BPM's the same, all I've got to do is press start the same time I press start on the MPC. Like it's a lot less hassle doing it that way. And I was a DJ for many years, so timing is impeccable. Next, Squid sample. Bosh, mate. I love a sampler. If you watch my videos, you know I love a sampler. If there's a sampler about, I've probably bought one. I like that one. The Pocket Operator. Shit. Absolute crap. But perfect for that reason. Anyway, I bought the Squid sample because this reminds me of an old school Akai rack mounted sampler, like a 950. I love it. I think it's perfect. Little USB in there, load of sound banks preloaded when you get with it. Again, I got this off Reverb. This was secondhand, but the guy that had it secondhand opened it and used it for an hour. Now, most people say that, oh, I opened it and I used it for 20 minutes and it went back in the box. When what they really mean is that they've just smoked crack over it for the past 3 years. This was it's perfect. This was just literally brand new, like the box, and it was brand new. So I got that for a nice deal. But this I'm using for drums. Probably the best 909 sound I've heard is that. The only other thing that I can compare this sound to is the Digitact. Now, I love the Digitact sound. However, I didn't like the clickiness of the buttons that were on it. And I also really wanted an SP16 at the time, so I sold it and got that. And then never really got back to that sound. This, because it's standard 44.1 16-bit, but the bit reduction on it is just usable. Normally, bit reduction on samplers and that, it just either sounds nice and high quality or shit. This actually sounds really nice. I'm using this as an actual sampler as well, so I'm making random noises, sampling it in, bit reducing it, running it through other things. It's just brilliant. Excellent. This is like my MPC Live, but in the rack, but very, very primitive, and I love it for that reason. I'm using PAMs to change. Listen to me, PAMs. Do you know what PAMs? That's what everyone calls it, innit? Like Pro Tools, PAMs. Like I know what the fuck I'm doing. Pamela's new workout. This is what's sequencing the drums on this. I love the using this as a sequencer. It's brilliant. As you can see, 1 and 5 on here are used up for reset of the clock divider and out to the clock divider division, which means I could still use this as my divider for some triggers, some on-beat triggers. But this has got like phase change, so you can get really nice swing and that. But anyway, yeah, using that with this. So that's my like MPC 950 in one. Next, we have a very basic mult. I'm using this for audio. So I'm just passing audio through this. So having audio split different directions. So I can have an audio signal coming out of this, going into here, coming out clean into a mixer, and then another version going out to be mangled somewhere else and meet it back. So sort of like a parallel processing unit. I don't know if anyone else is using it for that reason. I don't know if that's allowed. I mean, again, it's modular synthesis. You can do what you want, but that's how I'm using it. So this is like my audio splitter. 1 in, 3 out, 1 in, 3 out. I've then got the Wasp. I was looking, yeah, at getting the Mum Mate, the Mum Dance ALM filter. Looks really nice, and it goes perfectly with that. And it's sort of like marketed like, oh, if you've got Pamela's new workout and the Squid sampler and the Mum Mate filter, you've basically got an Akai 950. Amazing marketing. But I had the Wasp filter, right? You see I changed the knobs on it. Again, pathetic aesthetic reasons. But changed the knobs on it, and I love the sound of it. This is like my Mangle filter. So this is what I'm using with that most of the time. Come out of that into this if I want to, whatever. Next, dual attenuators. You'll see from this moment on, it's all Dopefer modules. I love a bit of Dopefer. I think Dopefer is one of those companies that can't do wrong in my eyes. It does what it says it's going to do and nothing else. Like things like this up here, like this Ornament and Crime, is going to take me about a year to figure out what is actually going on. It looks good though. If I just press play, like it looks good. So I mean, like you can see the peaks on it. Like I love that. But this, there's no fraff. Like it's just attenuator. I'm going to turn shit down. Like that's it. And I love that. So I've got dual attenuator. This is passive as well. So no power taken up from that. This I'm just using to turn down like LFOs and things like that. So the range of an LFO I just use with that. Next, the miniature synthesizer voice from Dopefer. The A111-6. This has been amazing for the past couple of days. I completely forgot or just didn't even know it's got an external input in it. So I've just been using the filter in this as an external in. So taking the noise out of this one that's mangled into this one and then through another filter that's driven, and it's fat. Love this, really small, sounds lovely. Been using it for sort of dreamy leads and that. Next, we've got the dual linear and exponential VCA. Apparently, you can't have enough VCAs, I've been told, and seen in many videos of people talking about how amazing VCAs are. I agree, they are very good, but I don't need that many. I've got one up there. So, yeah, another 2 I thought I'd get. This, however, I'm using as a mute. So this is just volumes and mute controls. Basically, I wanted VCAs and I wanted mutes, but I'm a cheap bastard. So I found a 4 HP module that gives me that. So for instance, my drums, right? I could have the kick and snare coming out of CV1 and then all of the percussion coming out of CV2 or VCA2. And here, look, you can go from linear to off to exponential. So basically I'm keeping it exponential because I'm a real man. And if I want it off, I just turn it off like that. So I can mute my kick and snare and I can turn them back in again just for sort of live stuff. Not just for drums and that, for different noises I can use for that. There's the obvious ones, so like CV and the amount of how much LFO and envelopes and crap, the normal way. But again, I'm very cheap. So this is my muting and volumeness. Next, we move on to my 2 mixers. There's a very good reason for this. First of all, this mixer here is kind of like this mixer here. What you can do is you can mix CV signals, awesome, and you can mix audio. Now what I'm doing is mixing my mono voices with this. So if I've got sound coming from this that's mono, sound coming from that that's mono, something coming from this that's mono or whatever, something coming out the filter that's being modulated mono, I'll sum all of those in here and have an overall output for it. Okay, that output will either go out of here straight to the line out or into this stereo mixer where I've got it 4 tracks with pans. So the mono would come out of here. The mono sum of what I've got going on would come out into one of these. So number 1, pan central. I can then have number 2, panned central again, but that could be a completely different sound. So that could be, one could be stuff that I've got going through filters and mangles and just fucking it up completely. Input 2, so this could be my mangling summing thing. Output mangled noise into 1. My clean mono sound, maybe a sub bass or something from that, comes out here. But then I've got a left and a right, so a stereo track. So I've got 2 mono tracks and a stereo track, right? Now, this is where it gets, well, I was talking about having this as my sort of audio. What I do here is I use my clouds, or my monsoon, as kind of like a send and return, like a parallel effect. So what I'll have is the original sound, right, would come out of here and then go into mixer 1 or into here to be blended or in its own track, right? I'll then have a version of that sound going out into the clouds. The cloud signal would then come out fully wet with loads of reverb or whatever, but fully wet into 3 and 4, panned left and right. The output of this, left and right, will then go to my line outs. So the reason for this is that I've got nice clean mono signals in the middle and then a wavy woo effects and crap and that stereo on the sides coming out 3 and 4, all summed to a stereo track. So yeah, you can see there's a lot of thought that went into this and the layout of where things go. Lastly, the joystick. I mean, look, what? It's absolutely, look at it. How sick is that? You got Y, X, the outsidey bit, which is nice. You've also got quadrants. Quadrant 1, 2, 3 and 4. You've got an overlap, so I can turn the overlap on, look. Check the overlap. Bosh, have a bit of that. Overlap. So that overlaps the quadrants and that. Everything, all of this can be sent out to wherever I want. At the minute, I've got this changing the parameters in real time, so manual parameter changes of my clouds parameters, mainly for things like the position, size, and texture. It's also got a little gate on it as well. Look, when I click that, see the button clicks on, gate. So I can trigger an envelope with that. I've been using this with the quantizer in here to make notes. So like moving about and quantizing notes over random CV to make random melodies. That's it. As I mentioned, I tried to get as much in this as physically possible in terms of usage in a small space, and also trying to get it so that the amount of things that I have is laid out so I could use it any way that I want to. So this is my sampling section over here. I've got my clock in section on the far left, so it's out the way. So like these wires are normally constantly here. This one's not, sometimes I'll take that out sometimes, but this is normally here. So I've got my clock divider and Pam's working together. Pam's again, just because we're mates, innit? So I call her. But then I can use this to here. I've then got my envelopes, which I can send out to random VCAs. Very happy with how it's working. Like I said, I've made some stuff already with it. The next episode will be me making a patch from scratch. I'm not going to do this in this episode because I've talked for ages and my back hurts. The world opened again, didn't it? So gyms are open. Went to the gym a week ago, literally a week, 7 days ago, and I still can hardly move that good. So my back's hurting where I'm sat. But yeah, that is my modular project. It's a little bit annoying that I've filled it up. Like that was the goal, was to just fill these 2 racks and then never look back. Not have to get anything ever again. Still want a morphogene. Still want that new beads. Still want other shit. Do you know what I mean? It's just annoying. There's a little gap just over there. Look, see that gap? See that little gap there? That could be filled with something. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. As usual, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you for the people that have subscribed. I do appreciate it. Apologies for the longness in this video. I normally do one every Friday, but the past couple of weeks, because I've been building it, I didn't want to do a half-assed video for you. I wanted to do a video that had everything in it. So that's it. That's the modular synth. Haven't given it a name yet. One thing I am going to do though is buy new knobs. Buy knobs that kind of look like these ones. Because again, I'm pathetic and very aesthetically led. But that's it. Hope you've had a considerably shitter day than me once again. I'll see you on the other side. Goodbye.